Hi guys, welcome back to the Read Along channel. As promised, we are going to do part 5 today of The Story of Tracey Beaker by Jaqueline Wilson. Of course, I nearly forgot what I was about to read there. We're starting on page 68 today. This is all Jaqueline Wilson's own work. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. So without further ado, let's get going. I kept on prinking and preening in my room. I heard all the other kids go clattering downstairs. I heard Louise and Justine go giggle, snigger, titter along the corridor. My face started burning so that I didn't need my blusher. Then I heard Adele rampaging around because some rotten so-and-so had been in her room and rifled all through her makeup and mucked it all up. I decided to hang about in my room a bit longer. I heard the front door bell. I heard Jenny talking to someone down in the hall. I heard them go into the sitting room. I knew it was time to make my entrance. So I went running down the stairs and barging into the sitting room with this great big smile on my face. It's no use looking sad or sulky if you want people to like you. Mum always tells me to give her a big smile, even when she's saying goodbye to me. You can't look gloomy or it will just upset people and they don't want any more to do with you. You've got to have this great big smile. Everyone looked up at me when I went into the sitting room and they all smiled too. Just for a moment, I was daft enough to think they were all smiling back at me, but then I saw that they were the wrong sort of smiles. They were smirks, and Justine and Louise nudged each other and giggled and spluttered and whooped, and Adele glared at me. Peter Ingham was the only one with a proper smile. He came over to me. He was blinking a bit rapidly. "You look nice, Tracy," he said, but I knew he was lying. It was no use kidding myself. It was obvious. I looked a right prat. Jenny's pretty laid back about appearances, but she looked shocked at the sight of me, and it looked like all that effort was for nothing, because she didn't seem to have the woman writer person with her after all. I've seen women writers on chat shows on the telly. They're quite glamorous, like film stars, with glittery frocks and high heels, and lots of jewellery. They look a bit like my mum, only nowhere near as pretty, of course. The woman with Jenny looked like some boring social worker or teacher. Scruffy brown hair, no makeup, scrubby t-shirt and rumpled jeans. A bit like me on an off day, grown up. I decided to slope off back to my bedroom. It seemed sensible to stay clear of Adele and anyway, but Jenny caught hold of me by the back of my jumper. "Hang about, Tracy. I thought you wanted to meet Cam Lawson." "Who?" I said. "You know, the writer I told you." Jenny hissed. Then she lowered her voice even more. "Why are you wearing your winter jumper when it's boiling hot today? And what on earth have you done to your face?" "She thinks she looks pretty," said Justine, and she clutched Justine and they both shrieked. She clutched Louise and they both shrieked. "Pipe down, you two," said Jenny. Tracy, Tracy!" She hung on to me firmly, stopping me barging over to that stupid pair of titters so I could bang their heads together. "Leave them, Tracy. Come and meet Cam." I wanted to meet this Cam. What sort of silly name is that? Even though she didn't look a bit like a proper writer. But I sort of hung back. I'm usually the last person to feel shy, but somehow I suddenly didn't know what to say or what to do. So I growled something at Jenny and twisted away from her and stood in a corner by myself, just watching. Peter came trotting after me. Justine and Louise were still having hysterics at my appearance. You could tell they'd actually got over the giggles by this time, but Justine kept going into further false whoops, and Louise was almost as bad. "Don't take any notice of them," Peter whispered. "I don't," I said crossly. "I like your jumper," said Peter, "and your makeup, and the new hairstyle." "Then you're mad. Look, it looks a mess." "I look a mess. I look a mess on purpose," I said fiercely. "So you needn't feel sorry for me, Peter Ingham. You just clear off and leave me alone, right?" Peter fidgeted from one foot to the other, looking worried. "Clear off, you stupid little creep," I said. So, of course, he did clear off then. I wondered why I'd said it. Okay, he is a creep, but he's not really that bad. I'd said he could be my friend, and it was a lot better when he was with me than standing all by myself, watching everyone over the other side of the room clustered round this Cam person calling herself a writer. She's a weird sort of woman, if you ask me. She was chatting away, and yet you could tell she was really nervous inside. She kept fidgeting with her pen and notebook, and I was amazed to see she bites her nails. She does the great big grown-up... She's A great big grown-up woman, and yet she does not a dopey kids thing like that. Well, she's not a great big deal. She's a little and skinny, but even so, my mum has the most beautiful fingernails, very long and pointy and polished. She varnishes them every day. I just love that smell of nail varnish, that sharp pear drop sniff that makes your nostrils twitch. Jenny caught me happily sniffing nail varnish one day, and do you know what she thought? Only that I was inhaling it like glue sniffing. Did you ever? I let her think it too. I wasn't going to tell her I just liked the smell because it reminds me of my mum. I'll tell you another weird thing about Cam What's-It. She sat on one of our rickety old chairs, her legs all draped around the rungs, and she talked to the children. Most adults that come here talk at children. They tell you what to do. They go on about themselves. They talk about you. They ask endless stupid questions. They make personal comments. Even the social workers are at it. Or they strike this special nothing you can say would shock me sweetie pose, and they make this stupid statement. I guess you're feeling really angry and upset today, Tracy, they twitter, when I've wrecked my bedroom or I get into a fight and shouted and sworn at someone. So that it's obvious I'm angry and upset. They do this to show me that there's understand, only they don't understand peanuts. They're not the ones in care. I am. I thought the Cam thing was ask questions and take down the case histories in her notebook and brisk and organised. But from what I could make out over in the corner, she had a very different way of doing things. She smiled a bit and fidgeted a lot and sort of weighed everybody up. They all had a good stare at her. Two of the little kids tried to climb up onto her lap because they do that to anyone who sits down. It's not because they like the person, it's just that they like being cuddled. They cried to have a cuddle with cross-eyed gorilla, I'm telling you. Most strangers to children's homes get all flattered and make great fuss of the littlies and come on like Mary Poppins. This Cam seemed a bit surprised, even a bit put out. I don't blame her. Little Wayne in particular has got the runniest nose of all time. He likes to bury his head affectionately into your chest, wiping it all down your front. Cam held him at arm's length, and when he tried his burrowing trick, she distracted him by giving him her pen. He liked flicking the catch up and down. She let the little Becky have a ride on her foot at the same time, so she didn't feel left out and bawl. Becky kept trying to climb up her leg, pulling her jeans up. Some of Cam's leg got exposed. It was pretty ropey sort of leg, if you ask me. A bit hairy for a start. My mum always shaves her legs, and she wears see-through tights to show them off. This Cam had socks like a schoolgirl, only they were quite funny, brightly patterned socks. I thought the red and yellow bits were just as squares at the first, but then they got a bit closer and I saw they were books. I wouldn't mind having a pair of socks like that myself, if I'm going to write all these books. She's written books, old Cammy Nicker, haha. The other kids asked her and she told them. She said that she wrote stories, but they didn't sell much, so she also wrote some romantic stuff. She doesn't look the romantic type to me. Adele got interested then because she loves all the soppy love books, and Cam told her some titles, and the boys got all tittered and went yuck yuck, and Jenny got a bit knocked, but Cam said she didn't mind. They were mostly yuck, but she couldn't help it if that's what people like to read. Then they all started talking about reading. Maxie said he liked this book, Where the Wild Things Are, because the boy in that is called Max, and Cam said she knew that book, and she made a Wild Things face, and then everyone else did too. Except me, I mean. I didn't want to join my dopey game like that. My face did a twitch bit, but I remembered that all the makeup, and besides, I looked really stupid. Besides, I'd got her sussed out. I could see what she was up to. She was finding out all sorts of things about the kids without asking any nosy questions. Maxie went on about his dad and about being a wild thing. Adele went on about love, only of course real life wasn't like that, and love didn't ever last, and people split up and sometimes didn't even go on loving their children. Even little creepy Peter piped up about those Catherine Cookson books that his nan used to like, and he told Cam how he used to read them to her because her eyes had gone all blurry. And then his eyes went a bit blurry too, remembering his nan, and Cam's hand reached out sort of awkwardly. She didn't quite manage to hold his hand, she just sort of tapped his bony wrist sympathetically. My nan's dead too, and my mum. They're both together in heaven now, angels, like, said Louise, lisping a bit. She always does that, puts on this sweet little baby act when there are grown-ups about, like she was this little angel herself. Ha, our little Louise can be even worse than me when she wants. She's had 3 foster placements too. No, was it 4? Anyway, none of them worked out. But Louise was always swore she didn't care. We used to have this pact that we'd do our best not to get fostered at all, and we'd stay together at the home until we got to be 18, and then we'd get them to house us together in our own modern flat. We got it all planned out. Louise even started thinking about our furniture, the ornaments, the posters on the walls. And then Justine came and everything was spoiled. Oh, how I hate Justine Elwood. I'm glad I broke her silly Mickey Mouse alarm clock. I'd like to break her into little bits and all. Anyway, Louise lives on about angels, and I'll give that Cam her due. She didn't go all simpering and sentimental and pat Louise on her curly head and talk about the little darling. She stayed calm and matter-of-fact and started talking about angels and wondering what they would look like. That's simple, miss. They've got these big wings and long white nighties and those gold plate things stuck on the back of their heads, said Justine. Draw one for me, said Cam, offering her pen and notebook. Okay, said Justine, though she can't draw for toffee. Then she had a close look at the pen in her hand. Here, it's a Mickey Mouse pen. Look, Louise. See the little Mickey? Oh, miss, where did you get this pen? It's great. I love Mickey, I do. I've got this Mickey Mouse alarm clock. My dad gave it to me, only some pig broke it deliberately. Justine looked over her shoulder and glared at me. I glared back, making out I couldn't care less, and I couldn't. My face started burning, and that was just because my mohair sweater. Justine drew her stupid angel, and Cam nodded at it. Yes, that's the way people usually draw angels. She looked at Louise. So this is the way you imagine your mum and your nan? Well, sort of, said Louise. Is that the sort of nightie that your nan would wear? And what about the halo, the gold plate bit? Would that bit nearly on top of her hairstyle? Louise giggled uncertainly, not sure what she was getting at. You draw me like you think your mum and nan look like as angels, said Cam. Louise started, but she can't draw much either, and she kept scribbling over what she'd done. This is silly, she said, giving up. I knew what Cam was on about. I'd have done a really great drawing of Louise's mum and nan in a natty angel outfits like this. And there's a drawing of it. I'll draw you an angel, miss, said Maxie, grabbing at the pen. I'll draw me as an angel, and I'll have big wings so I can fly like an aeroplane. Yow, yow! He went on making his dopey aeroplane noises all the time he was drawing. Then the others had a go. Even the big ones. I got a bit nearer, and craned my neck to see what they'd all drawn. I didn't think any of them was very inspired. I knew exactly what I'd draw if she asked me. It wouldn't be a silly old angel. Then Cam looked up. She caught my eye. She did ask me. Have a go, she said, dead casual. I gave this a little shrug, if I could care less. Then I sauntered forward very slowly. I held out my hand for the pen. This is Tracey, said Jenny, poking her big nose in. She's one who wants to be a writer. I felt my face start burning again. What, her? Said Justine. You've got to be joking. Now, Justine, said Jenny, Tracey's written heaps and heaps of her life book. Yeah, but it's all rubbish, said Justine. And her hand shot out, and she made a grab for underneath my jumper, where I was keeping this book for safety. I bashed out at her, but I wasn't quick enough. She snatched the book from me before I could stop her. Give that here, I shrieked. It's all rubbish, I tell you. Listen, said Justine. And she opened my book and started reading in a silly high-pitched voice, baby voice. Once upon a time there was a little girl called Tracey Beaker, and that sounds stupid, and no wonder because I am stupid and I went to bed and ow! Things got a bit hazy after that, but I got my book back, and Justine's nose became a wonderful scarlet fountain. I was glad. I wanted her whole body to be spout blood, but Jenny had told me off by this time, and she was shouting for Mike, and I got hauled off to the quiet room. Only I wasn't quiet in there. I yelled my head off. I went on yelling when Jenny came to try and calm me down, and then Jenny went away and someone else came into the room. I wasn't sure who it was at my first, because when I yell my eyes screw up and I can't see properly. Then I made out the jeans and the t-shirt and the shock of the hair, and I knew it was Cam Hoosier, and that made me burn all over until I felt like a junior Joan of Arc. There was me throwing a hairy fit, and there was her standing in there watching me. I don't care about people like Jenny or Elaine seeing me. They're used to it. Nearly all the children in care have a roaring session once in a while. I have them more than once, actually, and I usually just let rip, but now I felt like a right raving loony in front of her. I didn't stop yelling at all the same. There was no point. She'd already seen me at it, and heard me too. She didn't try to stop me. She wasn't saying a word. She was standing there, and she had this awful expression on her face. I couldn't stand it. She looked sorry for me. I wasn't having that, so I told her to go away. That's putting it politely. I yelled some very rude words at her, and she just sort of shrugged and nodded and went off. I was left screaming and swearing away all by myself. But I'm okay now. I'm not in the quiet room anymore. I stayed in there for such a long time, and I even had my tea in there on a tray. But now I'm in my bedroom, and I've been writing and writing and writing away. It looks like I can't help being a writer. I've written so much I've got a big lump on my longest finger on my right hand. You look. I used to play this daft game with my fingers. I'd make them into a family. There were mummy finger, daddy finger, big brother Freddie finger, pretty little pinky finger, and baby thumb Kim. I'd give myself a little puppet to show them, making them jump about, and I'd take them for my walks up and down the big heel of my leg, and I'd tuck them up in the night in my hanky. Baby Camilla used to like that game ever so much. I'd give the finger family a different squeaky voices, and I'd make them talk to her and take in turns to tap her tiny little nose, and she'd always chuckle so much her whole body jumped up and down. I don't half miss Camilla. Hey, some thought Cam. Is Cam short for Camilla? I was delighted at breakfast to see that Justine has a swollen nose and a sticking plaster. The swollen nose matches her swollen head. Justine Littlewood thinks she's really it, and she isn't. I truly don't get what Louise sees in her. If I were Louise, I'd much sooner be Tracey Beaker's best friend. What really gets me is that I was the first one who palled up with Justine first. She turned up at the home one evening, all down and droopy because her mum had cleared off with some bloke and left Justine and her two little brothers and her dad to get on with it. Only her dad couldn't get on with it, and the kids got taken into care. The brothers got into a short-term foster home because they were still nearly at the baby stage and not too much bother. But Justine didn't get taken on too because they thought she'd be difficult. I generally like kids who are difficult, and I thought I liked the look of Justine and the sound of her, because after the first droopy evening she suddenly found her tongue and she started sounding off at everyone, getting really stroppy and swearing. She knew even more swear words than I do. She was like that all week, but she shut up on Sunday. Her dad was supposed to see her on Sunday. She was sitting waiting for him right after breakfast, though he wasn't supposed to be coming until 11 o'clock. 11 came and went, and 12, and then it was dinner time, and Justine wouldn't eat her chicken. She sat at the window all afternoon, not budging. My tummy went tight whenever I looked at her. I knew what it was like. I used to sit like that, not just here. I used to sit and wait at both my crummy foster homes and the children's homes in between, waiting for my mum to come. But now I've got myself sorted out. No more dumb sitting about for me, because my mum's probably too far away to come on for a quick visit. Yeah, that's it. She's probably abroad somewhere. She's always fancied travelling. She's maybe in France or Spain. She likes sunshine. What am I thinking of? She'll have gone to the States, maybe Hollywood. My mum looks so great, she'd easily get into the movies. You can't hop on a bus and visit your daughter when you're hundreds of thousands of miles away in Hollywood now, can you? All the same though, even I don't want to sit waiting, always go a bit tingly when there's a knock at the door. I hold my breath waiting to see who it is, just in case, so I could understand what old Justine was going through. I didn't try to talk to her because I knew she'd snap my head off, but I sort of sidled up to her and dropped a little lollipop on her lap and backed away. It wasn't exactly my lollipop. I'd snapped it several little Wayne. His dopey mum is younger than Adele, and she hasn't got a clue about babies. Whenever she comes, she brings Wayne her lollipops. Well, they've got sticks, haven't they? We don't want little Wayne giving himself a poke in the eye, and he's normally so drooly that if you add a lolly lick as well, he gets stickier and then super glue. So it's really a kindness to nick his lollies when he's not looking. But why did you want to give one to Justine, Louise asked. She's horrible, Tracey. She barged right into me on the stairs yesterday, and she didn't even say sorry. She just called me a very rude word instead, Louise whispered it primly. Did she really say that? I said, giggling. Oh, she's not so bad, really. And anyway, I didn't give her the red lollipop. I saved that for you. Thanks, Trace, said Louise, and beamed at me. Oh, we were like that in those days. I kept an eye on Justine. She didn't budge for a good half an hour, letting the lollipop lie in her lap. And then I saw her creep out. She unwrapped it and gave one small suspicious lick, as if I'd poisoned it. But it must have tasted okay, because she took another lick, and then another, and then she settled down for a good long suck. Lollipops can be very soothing into the stomach. She didn't say thank you or anything, and when she eventually had to give up waiting and go to bed, she stalked off by herself. But the next day, at breakfast, she gave me this little nod, so I nodded back and flicked a cornflake in her direction, and she flicked one back, and we ended up having a good game of tiddlywinks, and after that, we were friends, not best friends. Louise was my best friend. Ha, she moaned at first. Why do we have to have Justine hanging around us all the time? She complained. I don't like her, Trace. She's dead tough. Well, I want to be tough too. You've got to be tough. What do you mean? I'm tougher than Justine, I said, sticking my chin out. Nutter, said Louise. It started to get me through. I started swearing worse than Justine, and Jenny got really mad at me because Maxie started copying me, and even little Wayne would come out with a right mouthful when he felt like it. So then I started the dare game. I've always won any dare until Justine came along. I dared her to say the rudest words she could think of, and when the vicar came on the visit, and she did. She dared me to go out in the garden stark naked, and I did. I dared her to eat a worm, and she did. She dared me to eat a worm. I said that wasn't fair. She couldn't copy my dare. Louise opened her big mouth and said I hated worms. Then I dared her to eat 2 worms, and Justine said Justine, so I did. I did sort of. It wasn't my fault they made me sick. I did swallow them first. Justine said I spat them out straight away, but I didn't. I thought I had. I happened to be crack-handed at skateboarding. Justine's not much good at getting her balance, and her steering's rotten. So I fixed up this skateboard assault course around the garden with sloping benches and all sorts, and I dared Justine to have a go, so she did. She fell over a lot, but she kept getting up and carrying on, so I said she was disqualified. But Louise said Justine should still win the bet if she completed the course, and she did. Then Justine dared me to climb the tree at the end of the garden, so I did. It wasn't my fault. I did get right to the top. I didn't ask that stupid Mike to interfere, but Justine said I'd lost that dare, and Louise backed her up. I couldn't believe my ears. Louise was my friend. We couldn't do any more dares because Jenny put her foot down. You don't argue when she does that. The next day, Justine's famous dad put in an appearance at long last. Justine had gone on and on about how good looking he was, just like a pop star, and he actually had an evening job singing in pubs, which was why he couldn't be at home to look after her and her brothers. Well, you should have seen him, starting to go bold, pot belly, medallion. He wasn't quite wearing a frilly shirt and flares, but almost. You wouldn't catch me wanting a dad like that, but Justine gave a weird little whoop when she saw him and jumped up into his arms like a great big baby. He took her on some dumb outing, and when she got back, she was always bubbly and bouncy and showing off. This present he bought her. I don't know why, but I felt really narked at Justine. It was all right when she didn't get a visit like us lot, but now I kept picking on her and saying silly sniggery things about her dad, and then she burst into tears. I was a bit shocked. I didn't say anything that bad, and I never thought a really tough girl like Justine would ever cry. I don't ever cry, no matter what. I mean, my mum hasn't managed to come and visit me for donkey's years, and I don't even have a dad, but catch me crying. And then I got another shock, because Louise turned on me. You were horrid, Tracy, she said, and then she put her arms right round Justine and gave her a big hug. Don't take any notice of her. She's just jealous. Me? Jealous? Of Justine? Of Justine's dopey dumb dad? She had to be joking. But it didn't look like she was joking. She and Justine went out together, their arms around each other. I told myself I didn't care, although I did care a little bit then, and I did wonder if I'd gone over the top with my remarks. I can have a very cutting tongue. I thought I'd smooth things over at breakfast, but maybe even tell Justine I hadn't really meant any of it. Not actually apologise, of course, but show her that I was sorry. But it was too late. I was left on my own at breakfast. Louise didn't sit next to me in her usual seat. She went and sat at the table by the window with Justine. "Hey Louise," I called, and then I called again, louder. "Have you gone deaf or something?" I yelled. But she could hear me all right. She just wasn't talking to me. She wasn't my best friend anymore. She was Justine's. And all I've got is silly, squitty, twitty Peter Ingham. And maybe he's not so bad. I was writing all this down when there was this little tiny tapping at the door, and as if some timid little insect was scrabbling away out there. I told this beetle to buzz off because I was busy, and it went on scribble scrambling. So eventually I heaved up myself on my bed and went to see what it wanted. "Do you want to play, Tracy?" he said. "Play," I said witheringly. "What do you think I am, Peter Ingham? Some sort of infant? I'm busy writing, but I've been writing so much my whole arm ached, and my writing lump was all red and throbbing. Oh, how we writers suffer for our art. It's chronic, it really is." So I did just wonder if it was time for a little diversion. "What sort of games do you want to play then, little pickle beetle?" He blinked a bit and shuffled backwards as if I was about to squash him, but he managed to squeak out something about paper games. "Paper games," I said. "Oh, I see. Do we make football out of paper and then give it a kick so that it blows away? What fun! Or do we make a little deer like a teddy out of paper and give it a big hug and squash it flat? Even better." Peter giggled nervously. "No, Tracy, pen and paper games. I always used to play noughts and crosses with my nan." Oh gosh, how incredibly thrilling," I said. "Beetles don't understand sarcasm." "Good, I like noughts and crosses too," he said, producing a pencil out of his pocket. There was no deterring him, so we played paper games after that. I suppose it passed the time a bit, and now I've just spotted something. Right at the bottom of the page, in teeny weeny beetle writing, there's a little message. "I don't half like you, Tracy. Signed, Peter Ingham." Guess what? I've got a letter. Not another snappy little message came from Peter. A real private letter that came in the post addressed to Miss Tracey Beaker. I haven't had many letters just recently. Oh, there have been plenty of letters about me. Elaine's got a whole library of files on me. I've had a little secret rifle through them, and you should just see some of the mean, horrible things that they say about me. I had a good mind to sue them for libel. Yeah, that would be great, and I'd get awarded all these damages, hundreds and thousands of pounds, and I'd be able to thumb my nose at Justine and Jenny and Elaine and all the others. I'd just clutch my lovely lolly in my hot little hand and go off and, well, I'd have my own house, right? And I'd employ someone to foster me. But because I'd been paying them, they'd have to do everything I said. I'd order them to make me a whole birthday cake to myself every single day of the week, and they'd just have to jump to it and do so. I wouldn't let anybody else in to share it with me, not even Peter. I'd have to share my real birthday cake with him, and he gave me a nudge and said, "What's the matter, Tracy? Don't you feel well?" Just when I closed my eyes tight, I was in the middle of making my birthday wish, so it got all muddled, and I lost my thread, and now if my mum doesn't come for me, it's all Peter Ingham's fault. Or maybe it is, but I'd still let him come round to paint my house sometimes, and we could play paper games. They're quite good fun, really, because I always win. Who else would I have in my house? I could try and get Camilla. I could look after her. I could get her special playpen and lots of toys. I've always liked the look of all that baby junk. I don't suppose I have much of that sort of thing when I was a baby. Yeah, I could have a proper nursery in my house, and when Camilla wasn't using it, I could muck about in there just for a laugh. I wonder if Camilla remembers me now. That's the trouble with babies. I wonder if Cam is short for Camilla. That's who my letter was from. I was a bit disappointed at first. I thought it was from my mum. I know she's never written to me before, but still, when Jenny handed it to me at breakfast, I just clutched at the envelope and held it tight and shut my eyes quick, because they got suddenly hot and prickly. If I was a snivelly sort of person, might as well have cried. "What's up with Tracy?" the other kids mumbled. I gave a great swallow and sniff up, opened my eyes and said, "Nothing's up. Look, I've got a letter from..." "I think it's maybe from Cam Lawson," Jenny said, very quickly indeed. I caught my breath. "Yeah, Cam Lawson, see that? She's written me my own personal letter, and she's not written to any of you lot. See, she's written to me. So what does that say then? Never mind, it's private." I went off to read it all by myself. I didn't get around to it for a bit. I was thinking all these dopey things about my mum, and I'd had a bad attack of hay fever, and I didn't really want to read what Cam Wilson had to say anyway. She saw me having a hairy fit. I was scared that she'd think me as some sort of loony, only the letter was okay. And just to tease you guys, that is where we are going to stop. So we're going to read the letter next time on page 105. Thank you again for listening. It's been a real pleasure. Slightly longer video today, so thank you for grinning and bearing with. But like we say, we'll read the letter next week, or next time, even not next week, because I'm planning to do one very soon. But thank you so much for listening. Until the next time, guys. Goodbye.